what we'll be doing this afternoon is we'll take a look at The King of Ragtime, how I went about it. Here's the cover. And what we'll do is we'll explore some of the themes that I was working with, what I was trying to accomplish. And what I wanted to do was focus in this book on Scott's early days. And I wanted to pay particular attention, whenever I could, to Florence, his mother, because I think more than any other person in Scott's life, it was Florence who gave him the courage to pursue his dreams. But I wanted to also ask myself, who was this kid that was born into this world of hardworking people that were raising themselves up from the ashes of slavery, trying to make a way for themselves in an often hostile world? Who was this person, this little young kid, that would someday make a piano laugh out loud and be crowned a king, the King of Ragtime? So we'll also look at some sketches that I've done, and we'll look at pages from my sketchbook and things like that. But before we get there, let's ask, what is ragtime? Well, basically, from my view as a pianist, it's like you can look at it where the left hand is playing like a heartbeat, a very steady march-like rhythm, which might reflect, too, the Western ingredient that is in ragtime. But the African, more syncopated, more rhythmic, is in the right, like a bird that wants to be free and soar and everything. In many ways, this kind of many things happening at the same time in ragtime formed a kind of soundtrack of the way things were back then, when very much like our time, when things were changing basically overnight. New technology was replacing the old, then the machine age giving way to the modern era. And of course, what didn't hurt also was that at that time pianos were popping up all over America like weeds. And so you had a lot of people were able to play the piano. But I think maybe what also really drove the popularity of ragtime was the fact that it was dance music. And it was the cakewalk dance that it was like a national craze. It was like amazing. This is a film from 1903. The cakewalk actually originated on the plantations, and it was a way of the enslaved people to kind of parody the high manners of the masters, who didn't know that they were being parodied. Now, I have a feeling that that film probably had like some musician, probably a pianist, and he or she was like off to the side playing a tune. What's really interesting is that this is really mainstream America's first encounter with that simple but radical trick of syncopation, where you have the melody displaced, or rather the rhythm displaced, or sometimes both. It kind of creates a little bit of a propulsion, a kind of swinging of the hips, with raising the possibility that anything can happen. And I think when those dancers were dancing, there was somebody off to the side giving them something to move to. And I think it was the Maple Leaf Rag, which is the first sheet music, American sheet music, that sold over 1 million copies, and it was written by Scott Joplin, actually a few years before The Entertainer. And here's the Maple Leaf Rag. iPad. And although it's done digitally, this will give you a good idea of actually what happens when you do it like using traditional materials like just a pencil and an eraser, or sometimes tracing paper. So as you can see, even just for a single character, there's a lot of editing that goes on. Maybe his mustache is, needs a little, maybe we don't need a mustache at all, you know? And filling in color. Still not quite liking his head, but we'll get back to that. That looks like it's a little bit better.